So let me tell you what I figured out from looking at the chart and the records. Now, I don't have your x-rays to look at, although they did try to make a Xerox copy of your chest x-ray for me, which I really appreciated. But you have what we call lung cancer, which is squamous cell carcinoma of the lung. Let me ask you this. Do you have a living will?
No, but I have to make money.
You don't have to. It's more important that Don and Carla and your family know what you want.
Yeah, well, I'm talking to them.
Yeah. Okay. If your heart were to stop beating right now and you're to drop dead, and the Lord call you home, what would you want me to do?
What would I want you to do? Cremate me. They know that.
No, Dr.
But do you want me to try to resuscitate you and keep you alive artificially?
No, that's what I...
Okay.
No,
I agree. I'm not arguing. I need to understand.
My mother suffered, yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Okay.
You know, I can't see it. And I took care of a woman that went very quick.
Yeah.
She had it where it was wrapped around the windpipe.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
By the time I took her there, they could do nothing for her.
What? Bottom line is this. You have a tumor that has spread. It's spread through the lung and into the center portion. I don't see any evidence that it's spread elsewhere in the body, but it could. Surgery is out because it's too extensive. Radiation is out. Chemotherapy, maybe, at best, if you have a really good response, might let you live a month longer. But I don't think it would help you feel better. Okay? I think it would make you feel weak and tired and decrease the quality of your life. Okay? So my suggestion would be is let you live life to the fullest, do everything you want to do. Is there anything special you want to do in your life before you die?
Well, I want to see their baby.
Okay. And when's baby coming?
In August.
You're going to make that.
I'll make that.
Yeah, you'll make that.
How
Okay.
fast do you think it'll spread?
It spread fairly quickly. I can't tell you how long you're going to live. I can tell you that the average is between 6 and 12 months.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't predict beyond that. I do think you'd be...
Trailer trash. How I've grown to hate those two words. It reduces all that you are and all those you love into nothingness. I began this film on May 11th of 2004, on the day my grandmother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. My girlfriend was 6 months pregnant. I was raised in a trailer park beside the Charlestown racetrack in Jefferson County, West Virginia. My mother was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I've never met my father. My grandmother had lived in the trailer park for more than half of her life. She was the strength that had held our family together. Most of the time, our trailer did not have heat, running water, or even electricity. No matter how poor we were, my grandmother would take in other children who were abused or abandoned. Most of those kids, like their parents, became racetrackers, horse trainers, and jockeys. Some pursued the dream of being middle class. Some have gone to prison. One is overdosed, and one was murdered. In the summer of 2000, the Charlestown Races and Slots purchased the property the trailer park sat on. Late one night, my grandmother called me crying, "Dee, I'm going to be homeless. What am I going to do?" A few months later, I bought the first house my family had ever known.
Of course I enjoyed sex. I always did.
Who was the best lover you had? Was Henry a good lover?
Yeah, he was a good lover.
He was a good lover. He had lots of experience.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah,
He gave me lice once.
crabs. I thought you said
Crabs or whatever they are. I didn't know why I was itching, and he saw me itching, and then he tells me, instead of telling me he had them, you know.
And he tried to tell you got them from another jockey.
Oh, yeah, from a jockey strap. He used somebody's jockey strap, which was a lot of baloney, you know, and I knew it. And then he went with some girl, cheated on me, went with some girl who had syphilis. Yeah, he had to take all those tests and everything.
Did you get it? Or were you...
No, I didn't, and he had to take treatment.
How many lovers have you had in your life?
I guess 2.
As the months went by, we watched how the cancer affected Grandma. We also watched our daughter grow inside me. On August 20th, when Delia was born, we were very excited to have a positive event after learning Grandma's diagnosis. When Delia was born, both our eyes filled with tears. She was beautiful. As the evening went on, we celebrated with family and friends, under the impression that everything was all right. It was not till the next morning did we find out that our daughter, too, was fighting for her life. I don't recall much from the conversation with Dr. Kaiser. I can remember her coming into the room and telling me the nurses had found Delia's extremities blue and had placed her on oxygen. I immediately got a hold of Don. That morning, our family sat around Delia, unable to predict what would happen next. After doing an echo of Delia's heart, we discovered she had pulmonary stenosis. That afternoon, Delia was rushed to Johns Hopkins. I stayed at Washington County Hospital as Don traveled to Hopkins by himself. At 36 hours, Delia went through her first cardiac catheterization. For the next 7 days, we sat in ICU, waiting to see what would happen. During our stay at Hopkins, we received even worse news that Grandma's cancer had spread to her brain, and they needed to start radiation treatments. The doctors released Delia and wanted to see her back in 3 weeks to check her heart. We got home late that Friday night. Grandma was up waiting. She had started oiling her hair and was extremely hyper from the steroid treatments. She had placed pictures of Delia in the playpen. After Delia's 3-week checkup, we found out that she would need another cardiac cath, since the first surgery was not successful. A few days before Halloween, we went through Delia's second surgery. Grandma at the time had lost most of her hair. What was left she had shaved off and walked around bald and could have cared less.
Last night, is it snowing now? Oh, dear me. Where were you at, Jackie? Oh, you're from She's just a gallon a mile a minute over here. Oh, I'm on the telephone. And she's looking at me. Can you hear her? Oh, she can hear you. Yeah, tell her I love you. I'm telling you, she's getting noisier and noisier with her sounds. All right.
My grandmother was born Mary Frances Sheehan in Kansas in 1922. She was married twice. She had 5 children, 4 sons who had died at birth. Only my mother survived. My grandfather, Henry Ramirez, was born in Arizona in 1923. At a young age, he moved to the Chicano barrios of East LA. He became a thoroughbred jockey and a racehorse trainer. My grandfather made his real living fixing races for the mob. In our family, he is the thing of legends. He lives in Louisiana. My mother was born Donna Marie Ramirez on September 29, 1945. She was raised Catholic. In the early 1960s, in California, my mother was introduced to drugs and the hippie movement. My mother died of her addictions on November 21, 1999. I am my mother's firstborn child. I was born Don Diego Ramirez, April 22, 1966. After a brief stint in the Marine Corps, I went to college where I was introduced to punk rock music. After graduation, I became involved in the visual arts. The twins. My sister, Sixta Maria Miranda, born March 11, 1967. Maria has 2 children and lives in Delaware. Sixta lives with me in West Virginia. My brother was born Keith Sylvan Spriggs on March 29, 1978. He's addicted to crack cocaine and has spent his adult life homeless or in jail. My youngest sister, Mary Moore Crawford, nicknamed Tookie since childhood, was born January 30th, 1971. She was raped as a teenager and has never been quite the same since. She has 2 children, Christopher and Christina. My nephew Christopher has already had several brushes with the law. Despite his young age, he is very street smart. My niece Christina is in juvenile placement for being a runaway and truant from school.
Again, I'm here with some of my most beloved friends and family members. I'm very happy to see you. I'm happy to see you to start in my house again. Go in a circle, say whatever anyone feels. Number is this for you, Aaron, if you've been here? Third? It's at least third. Curtis, I think it's zero.
I got Carla.
Couple rounds in a row. I'd like for you to start. First.
I'm thankful to be here today. And
A few days before Christmas, a Catholic priest arrived to visit my grandmother.
Alexander and I,
He performed the last rites with her, alone and in private. It was tough for me when the priest showed up. I've never much cared for religion, but I knew it was what my grandmother wanted. It was her last request.
just thankful for health, everybody's health and happiness, and my crazy son over there.
On Sunday, January the 9th, I got a call while I was at work from my wife, Carla. She said that it was bad and that I needed to come home. When I got home, there were 3 nurses huddled above my grandmother. My grandmother looked at me and she said, "Dee, I just can't seem to get myself together today." I started to cry and I looked at my grandmother and I said, "It's okay. It's okay." Later that day, we would have over 30 visitors come to see my grandmother to pay their final respects. Late that night, our youngest sister, Mary Moore Crawford, nicknamed Tookie, would come to visit our grandmother. She'd be alone with my grandmother for a few hours and then would visit with us. She had been living in New Orleans with our grandfather.
I'm going to take, my goodness, let me do this down here. Here, let's each just take one and empty them out and then keep the fresh one in here. All right, Grandma.
Put the fresh one in the fridge. Yes, they do.
Everything that happens today after Grandma passes, I want you to tell the story as best you can. From Tookie calling you and all that.
Yeah, well, we had Christopher with us. Six and I had Christopher. We're just riding around trying to clear our minds of Grandma. You know, not clear our minds, but trying to keep our minds busy, I guess. And she kept calling Christopher. She called him 3 times, and then Tookie called Sixta like twice, and then she called me, and then we weren't answering the phone at that time, and then Christopher said she sounded upset, so Sixta talked to her, and she just didn't sound, you know, we knew something was really wrong. So she said Sean was out of house and she could, you know, talk with us. So we went to go see her. We ended up picking her up. And first thing she asked us when she got in the car is, did we see the news this morning? And we said no. She said they found a man's body in Jaredstown.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Peter Bickford.
And I'm Kathleen Mitchell. Thanks for joining us. We start tonight with an investigation that has turned up few answers.
Yesterday, a stroll through the woods turned gruesome when a local couple stumbled on a body. NBC 25's Victor Blackwell's been following the story today and has the latest. Victor?
Well, Peter, tonight the body of the unidentified man is in Charleston, West Virginia. State authorities are conducting an autopsy. They're hoping that the results will lead to answers to so many unanswered questions. Now, they're looking for...
And she said, I think Sean did something bad. And I was just like, oh my God, Tookie, I said, what do you mean? You really think that he's capable of killing someone? And she said, I don't know. She goes, I just think. And I said, why? And she told us that Sean had a black bag in the back of that rental van that she couldn't go near, couldn't touch it at the time. And he told her it was a dead dog. And when she said that, I mean, I had these feelings popping into my head. And, you know, we drilled her. We're like, do you think it could have been a person? And she's like, maybe. She still wasn't saying yes. So, and somehow we got on the subject of Granddad, and Sixth actually dialed his number and put the phone to her ear and said, you know, can you try calling Granddad for us because we haven't been able to get a hold of him. Oh, because we said, I had this feeling, I was like, do you think he could have hurt Granddad? And she was like, I don't know. That's when we had her call. And I just kind of knew from the way she was acting that it was him.
Tonight, the discovery of an elderly man's body is uncovering plenty of other secrets. NBC 25's Victor Blackwell is in our newsroom with the very latest. Victor?
Well, tonight, Kathleen, Don Ramirez of Shenandoah Junction says he's devastated. He's learned that the body that investigators found in Gerrardstown was that of his grandfather, and his sister may be responsible for his death.
It's been so much to absorb that at one point I feel like my mind is just a brick wall, and there's no more coming in.
Don Ramirez of Shenandoah Junction has suffered many losses in the past week. It began when his grandmother died on Tuesday night.
Less than 24 hours after we lost our grandmother, we were helping the state police, you know, look for my sister, who was eventually charged with the first-degree murder of my grandfather.
Investigators have confirmed that the man found in a shallow grave in this Gerrardstown forest is 80-year-old Henry Ramirez, and police say Mary Crawford of Martinsburg killed him.
It was just devastating to find out that my sister was involved in his murder.
Police also arrested Crawford's boyfriend, Sean Cole, on unrelated charges, but they say the charges related to the murder could follow.
He ended up in a hole in Gerrardstown, unceremoniously placed in a hole. I have no thoughts, nothing negative or positive. It's just a void, just a huge, huge void.
And when you called, we had Christopher in the car, so I couldn't even talk to her. I didn't want to say anything in front of him.
Right.
So we took him home. And that's when I said, Tookie, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but, you know, the police want to talk to you. And then that's when she decided she wanted to go straight to the police station. And she was going to turn Sean in or give information as far as what she knew. You know, and at that time I had no clue her involvement. I mean, she really made it sound that she was innocent in it all. I didn't know anything, you know, and I believed her.
It wasn't until by Friday, like she's charged with the first-degree murder on Wednesday night, the 12th of January, around 9:30, almost 24 hours to the moment Grandma dies. We see her on Friday. Let's talk a little bit about that. We see her 2 days later.
You mean here, the visit
Here,
in the jail?
we see her here.
That was,
By then we knew a little bit more.
we knew a little bit more, but she wasn't, you know, she wasn't offering us any information that was helping us. I mean, you know, at that point I didn't care about, I just wanted to know something, you know, I wanted to know information, I wanted to know what happened to him, and, you know, coming here, it was really, I had very mixed feelings that day. You know, you're hurting because we knew Granddad was murdered, and you're hurting because you're seeing your little sister behind bars, and you know that she's probably going to be there the rest of her life. And, you know, a lot of people have a hard time understanding why I even have any compassion for Tookie, but,
I'm with you.
you know, I love her. And,
I do too.
you know, she didn't have an easy life. None of us has, but, you know, I just felt Tookie kind of had it pretty rough.
On Friday, January 14th, myself and my two sisters, Sixth and Maria, visited our youngest sister, now being held on first-degree murder charges in the Martinsburg, West Virginia Regional Jail. My sister denied all involvement in the murder of our grandfather, but as we pressed her, she gave us directions on how we could find the makeshift grave. Myself and my sisters would make that solemn pilgrimage to Jaredstown. During a phone interview, this is what my sister had to say about the murder.
The West Virginia State Police and the Louisiana State Police. I want you to tell me just like you've told them.
God, I don't know. Granddaddy come over there that morning.
Which morning?
Thursday morning.
Okay.
On the 6th, I believe it was. He come over there Thursday morning to take us to the bus station. Because Wednesday night we had called, and I asked him if he would give us the money to go to the bus station, or to send us home. And he said no, which Sean got pissed off about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept telling Sean not to worry about it because Granddaddy always changed his mind in the morning. And sure enough, Thursday morning came around and he had done changed his mind. He come over to take us to the bus station. And I don't know, we were out there talking, and of course, you know, he hated Sean from the beginning. He just did not like Sean. And I don't know, we went upstairs to go get the bags, and I went downstairs to clear the back seat of the car off, or put the bags and shit on it, and I was outside for maybe 15, 20 minutes because I had talking to our neighbor too. And by the time I went upstairs, Sean had already, Granddaddy was on the ground. And I started flipping out on Sean, and he just, I don't know, just got real rough with me and threw me down on the bed and told me to chill the fuck out, this and that. I have it all written down if you want me to send you a copy of what I've written down.
I just want to hear it. Like, I mean, I don't, you know, I'd prefer to just hear it, you know.
Yeah,
I know Sixtus read your journal. Huh?
And I just hate talking through it all again.
I understand, you know.
It's so damn much.
But it'll be hard to, like, talk to you and stuff, like, when you go down to Louisiana.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But, I don't know, I don't know exactly how Sean did it.
You know, like, he's saying that it's all you.
Yeah, I know. That's like the cop told me that he's trying to say that I put a pillow over his head. And the cop told me, he's like, you know, the autopsy shows that wasn't how he died. There was no pillow involved at all. Which, I mean, I wasn't even in the room when he did it. I was outside. I've gotten 2 letters from Sean since I've been here.
And her boyfriend. The warning apparently went unheeded, and the LaPlace grandfather is dead.
Deputies believe this was a murder of money.
Grandfather is dead.
Police say Mary Crawford and Sean Cole strangled and Sean Cole strangled.
Police more details will pass along.
81-year-old Ramirez. In Bucktown stands accused tonight of killing the woman's 81-year-old grandfather.
Is he Louisiana or is he?
He only did it for me and the kids and blah, blah, blah.
Where were you all getting the heroin here in West Virginia? Where were they at?
Police say they keep the suspect in mind, but that's all they're saying. We don't know the man's name, how he died.
A few weeks after Tookie and Sean were arrested, we received a videotape from Meredith Mendez, a reporter from a television station in New Orleans, whom my brother had done several phone interviews with. All of us felt the need to go to New Orleans, but we simply could not afford it. This was the closest we could get, a videotape of the place our grandfather had died. We watched the tape in silence again and again, looking for answers we never found.
And buried the body. Our Meredith Mendez joins us now with details of this. Meredith?
Liz, Michael, deputies believe this was a murder over money. The couple is accused of luring Crawford's 81-year-old grandfather, Henry Ramirez, to their apartment and killing him because he wouldn't give them money.
Sean Cole was arrested in New Orleans in November or December on a case, and the grandfather paid for the bond.
But deputies say on January 6th, the couple left this apartment with Ramirez's body and headed to West Virginia.
They borrowed a shovel and a wheelbarrow from a neighbor, and the neighbor asked him, "What do you want that for?" He said, "You want to bury somebody." I said, "I'm going to bury a dog."
It's 5:30 in the morning. I can't sleep. I had a really weird dream last night that about murder. I've had a lot of dreams lately about murder. Last night's was really disturbing. There was a racial component to it. There was a black man who had been, and I think it was my friend Curtis, who was the best man at my wedding, who had been murdered at a Ku Klux Klan rally by this Klansman with tattoos all over him, a big old redneck guy. Who had shot and killed Curtis, and then a bunch of other Klansmen. I wrapped him with chains, and put him in a creek, and he was submerged in this creek. And they were screaming stuff about gator bait and alligators and all this weird stuff. I went up this creek and I could see Curtis's body submerged in the stream. And then later in the dream, I had been arrested because I hadn't done anything. I was in trouble in the dream for not helping or doing something or being involved, and for documenting. I've been dreaming of murder for well over a month.
Eastern Regional Jail.
Why are we here?
See my mom.
What happened? Why is your mom here?
Because she got involved with an incident with her boyfriend where killed our great-great-granddad.
How you feeling about all this?
Depressing.
Been a long month?
Hell yeah.
How are you handling it?
It's hard, but I got my moments.
Yeah. Tell me about your moments.
I cry sometimes. Other times I hit things, break things.
Tell me how you feeling towards Sean right now.
Going what?
Towards Sean. What do you feel towards Sean?
A lot of hatred for what my mom and us do this stuff. I think mostly it's his fault.
How you feeling towards your mom right now?
I mean, I'm upset with her, but I'm just putting it aside because she's my mom.
Right. How's Tina handling this? Tell me who Tina is.
Tina's my sister.
And how's she handling everything?
She's upset about it, but I don't think she really knows what's going on because she's been locked up and stuff.
What do you mean locked up? Where is she?
She got sent away to a correctional facility.
Tell me how you're doing in school.
Real bad.
Bad? What do you mean by being bad?
I was doing better, but when everything happened, I just don't really care no more.
A few days after visiting his mother, Christopher threatened a Columbine-style attack on his school. He was arrested and has remained in juvenile placement ever since.
I don't mind talking about, Mom, I guess, to start off with, is growing up with, a parent who, growing up with Mom who abused drugs and alcohol so severely as she did, and, that's the life not only did she choose for herself, but she chose for us, for us kids. We didn't have a choice to go through but what we went through with Mom, and it was crazy. When people ask about my childhood and about my mom, there was, I love Mom, and she was was a very passionate and compassionate woman, and then, she was, two people. And then you have the woman who, whose mind was just altered in just such a crazy, evil way sometimes with drugs and alcohol.
The last day of clarity before my grandmother began what the hospice nurses termed active dying, myself, my wife, and our baby sat with my grandmother, having coffee and toast. My grandmother was in a really good mood. She became very solemn and serious. She said, "Dee, I had a bad dream last night." She said, "Tookie and Sean are coming home, and it's going to be bad." She said that she dreamt of 2 naked children. She said that she didn't know what the naked children represented or what they meant. The last thing she said to me that day before I left for work was, "Dee, be careful."
Tell me the story. How'd you end up at Cornell Abraxas?
Well, I did listen to my parents. I smoked weed. And I violated probation.
What are we doing this weekend? Why are we going home?
My granddad's funeral.
And what else? See your mom.
To see my mom.
How you feel about seeing Tookie, your mom?
Good.
Okay. It'll be me and probably Maria that take you tomorrow. All right? And I'll follow you a little bit out towards the road. Let's catch some of the snow. You look nice, Tina.
After being released from her juvenile detention, my niece went to live with her adopted father. Shortly after arriving home, she ran away. Several weeks later, she was arrested and tested positive for narcotics. She was returned to juvenile placement.
After 2 months of mourning his tragic death, the Ramirez family said it was time to remember Henry Ramirez at the height of his life.
Really, for us as a family to come together and celebrate the life of my grandfather, and we thought it would be most appropriate to do it at the racetrack.
Barely 16 and not even a legal rider yet, the family says Ramirez rode at Charlestown races on opening day.
Racetrack was just all around us, growing up and throughout our lives. Our father rode briefly, and of course our grandfather rode and trained, and so we're horse people all together. So this is a good atmosphere for today.
It feels a lot longer than just 2 months since all of this has gone on. But we've pulled together, we've all supported one another, and I think that the family has come out stronger, if anything. She's waiting extradition to Louisiana. We saw my sister, Mary Crawford, yesterday, and she told us that she no longer wants to fight extradition. We continued to have contact with my sister, and in some way or another to try to offer her support through this. We want her to do the right thing, and that's what we've been pushing for as a family.
I believe your grandfather and Mary got into an argument, and my brother had gotten to it or something, and then my brother choking him or something, and your grandfather passed out, and then my brother and Mary got scared, thought he had died, so they wrapped him up and he suffocated.
Tookie says it's all your brother. What's your brother's side of the story?
He really told me not to, that he didn't, he told me he didn't do it, that not to believe anything I heard, not to believe anything on the news. Said he didn't do it, that, how'd he have it? Mary, he said Mary Tookie asked him if she was to do it, would he stick by her side, you know? If she was to do it, would he stick by her side, you know, and help her out? And he said something about they had that on the phone. They had a recorder on the phone, or something. When she was talking to him on the phone. So I'm not sure. I mean, to me, I think he probably did, and your grandfather he probably choked him to where he passed out or something, and then they panicked and got scared, and wrapped him up or however they did it, and then he suffocated.
How often do you get to talk to your brother?
Since he's been, I haven't even wrote him.
You haven't? You haven't called him or talked to him? Does he call your mom?
Yeah.
Does he?
I ain't talked to him, wrote him, or nothing.
It's waiting on letters when you're doing time and your family won't send you a dime. It's waiting on visits never takes place from It's waiting on visits which never take place from friends or loved ones who forget your face. It's hearing them lie and saying they are trying to make you promises, but you know they are lying. It's making plans with someone who you thought you knew, but their plans suddenly change and it didn't include you. It's hearing them say how much they care, but in your time of need, they are never there. It's having them promise and it goes straight to your head, but when push comes to shove, they leave you for dead. It's feeling of love, honor, and pride of emotions that are hurting inside. It's expressing yourself to loved ones and friends, but they can't feel your pain because you're in the pen. It's calling and hearing a block on the phone, but you maintain because life goes on. It's really messed up when you're doing time, but that's prison life, out of sight, out of mind. Tookie.
What was your response when you first heard the poem?
When I first read that letter, I had to read it a second time just to be sure. I was angry. My heart started pounding and I got angry, and my first thought is like, how dare she? You know, but I didn't want to feel too much hate on this letter just because, you know, that's Tookie. You know, always pushing everything that's ever happened bad in her adult life on everybody but her, you know, but herself. I was angry, you know, because we're all here for her. We all supported her. We put our own feelings aside to go see her, you know, and she wasn't here with us with Grandma. You know, I just pissed me off. I can't remember how I found out like she was going to be leaving soon. Maybe Christopher, I don't know. But I called the Eastern Regional Jail on a Thursday that me and you were going to go see her, and they said that she was taken away, that she was taken to Louisiana, and they couldn't like tell me the exact day or time when she was taken or when she would arrive.
I remember you were saying that you were feeling like guilty that you hadn't seen her.
Yeah, I just felt guilty. I mean, I was overwhelmed with guilt because I didn't see her, you know, every time I could have. And I was trying to put my true feelings about her aside. And I thought, you know what, as long as she's still here, I'm going to go see her. And I did see her, and then I didn't see her the Saturday before she left. I just felt bad. I just felt just really guilty. You know, like maybe I wasn't there for her. I don't know.
The roots of addiction run deep in my family. My grandfather would claim he left my grandmother because of her drinking. She always maintained she divorced him because of his infidelities. All I know is she took her last drink shortly after I was born. As the investigation into the murder of my grandfather progressed, there would be one disturbing fact that would come to light that would haunt my family. We found out that my sister Tookie and her boyfriend Sean drove around with our grandfather's murdered corpse in the rear of a budget rental truck. At one point, my sister Tookie picked up her son Christopher and took him to visit his sister Christina in Pittsburgh, where she was being held in a juvenile detention center. Tookie came to visit our grandmother that fateful Sunday evening, dropped off in the budget rental truck by Sean. She stayed with my grandmother for a few hours as Sean took the body and buried it in Jaredstown, West Virginia. At one point, my sister Sixta heard Tookie on the phone with Sean, asking him if he had done what he had to do. Alright, today's May 21st. We're cleaning out Grandma's bedroom. It's been now January 11th to now. We've not really touched the room or tried to sort things out because of the emotional value. I want to say that we found out this week that my sister and Sean were indicted by a grand jury in Louisiana on second-degree murder. They're both facing life in prison. I've talked to my sister several times. Since she was extradited, she's upset with me. Initially, the DA in Louisiana was going to let her and Sean basically get off with murder. He was going to charge them both with accessory after the fact, which I found totally unacceptable. And I contacted any media source that would listen to us, and fortunately enough, I was able to get on ABC 26 in New Orleans the day before her preliminary, and that day, the next day, Wednesday, she was charged with first degree. Sean was charged this past Monday with first degree in this preliminary, but eventually, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, they were indicted on second degree murder charges, which in Louisiana carries life imprisonment. And the difference between second degree and first degree, according to the DA, was proven premeditation. I wrote my sister a first letter to her, and it was very angry, and you know, I don't believe that she's innocent in any of this. Both Sixta and Maria have very mixed feelings about what I've done with the media, but I felt as if Sean and Tookie got out, that my life, Carla's life, my baby's life would be in danger, that Sean would have an axe to grind with the people that put him behind bars. But you know, what we want to see is justice served and to keep dangerous people off the street. And it's tough, like everything's been tough. I know that I've been an irritable prick, and I've not been there for you the way that you wanted, honey. Life goes on. This is part of our film. It's amazing to see from the beginning of the film where the baby is literally in mom. Oh my God. Ugh. Christopher and Christina, I've always had a feeling that Tookie wanted Christopher and Christina to have as much pain as she had from her life with mom. And I think that's one of the reasons I always kind of kept Tookie at arm's length. And that's the same with little Keith.
Yep.
Like, you know, it's like you love them. I love my brother. I love my sister. But, you know, I've got to let them know that I disapprove of what they're doing.
Right.
You know, and I tried very hard, you know, to express that to Tookie without condemning her or closing her off. And the same with little Keith. Like, whenever I close my conversations with either of them now, I tell them I love them.
Right.
You know, but, you know, this, you can't stand by or sit by and watch this train wreck. Like, you can't do it, you know.
When Hurricane Katrina, a Category 5 storm, slammed into the Gulf Coast, causing the levees protecting New Orleans to collapse, our sister called us. She told us the first floor of her detention center was flooding. She said heavily armed guards were moving all the female prisoners to a nearby highway off-ramp. They were being transported to other Louisiana detention centers. In West Virginia, we watched this scene on live television. We did not hear from her again for 6 months. We'll talk about your mom for a second?
Sure.
Okay. What do you think about your mom's situation right now? What's your feelings on that?
I wish they'd hurry and get this whole court thing over. Yeah, mom messed up, but I mean, they shouldn't. Like, she's learning, you know. Like, she made a mistake, a really, really bad mistake, and like, it wasn't even like, I don't even think it was really her fault. Like, Sean really had her like psycho, I guess, or like really brainwashed.
Sean and the drugs.
Yeah, and Mom is, I don't know, she's all for guys, I guess.
Talk about your mom. What kind of person do you think your mom is?
Mom, she's very loving. I mean, I know she loves me and Chris to death. I know she loves the family to death. She might not show it a lot of times, but I know she does, because she apologizes every time she does something wrong. She knows when she does wrong, and like she tries to make up for it as much as she can. I mean, she's very kind-hearted. I don't think she would ever hurt, you know, anybody. My mom is very loving, and she cares a lot.
For all of my family, our lives have been forever altered. Nothing can be as it once was, and I don't know what our future shall hold. I hope for all of us what becomes is better than what was. As I stare into the face of my second newborn daughter, I realize that this film must come to an end and my life must begin again. Aldous Huxley once wrote, "Experience is not what happens to a man, it is what a man does with what happens to him." The memories of my life in the trailer park are fading. Only my dreams of the faces and the lives of the nearly 40 families who called 2.5 acres home are left. It's the end of summer of 2007, and I wanted to end this film where my story begins. In the trailer park that I grew up in, everything here is different now, both in my family and in the property that was the trailer park. The Charlestown Races and Slots have purchased the property. The old Shenandoah Down racetrack has been destroyed. Our neighborhood has been destroyed, and in a lot of ways parts of our family have been destroyed. Regarding the murder of my grandfather, it's been almost 3 years, and we know very little of what's going to happen regarding the eventual outcome of the murder case. My sister and Sean remain jailed in New Orleans. My grandfather's case is one of more than 3,000 backlogged violent pre-Katrina felonies. Every year that passes, our hope begins to wane and fade that there'll be justice. There are 20,000 murders committed every year in America. 20,000 families that suffer in the way that my family has suffered. Things overall are well for my family. My wife Carla has graduated from nursing school. Our oldest child, Dalia, is in wonderful health. She turned 3 this past summer. We had a second child. We named her Yamaya Donna Marie Sixta Ramirez. My sister Sixta has taken a very active role in the lives of our niece and nephew. She still lives with us, but she's looking for her own apartment. She's hoping to take Christina in and become a foster parent. My little brother is my little brother, and nothing ever changes. Right now he's in jail again, but I did this film for a lot of reasons, and I think really I wanted to say that no one's life is trash. No one's life is something to be discarded or thrown away, that everyone's life has meaning. We had as much love and passion and joy and pain and hope as any other family in America.